Hey y'all, thanks for tuning in to Outdoor and Door Texan. Today I'll be showing y'all how to cook a cast iron cobbler. Now for those of y'all who don't know what a cobbler is, it's essentially a baked dessert with some type of fruit filling and a biscuit or dumpling topping. They're usually set in a cast iron skillet, and because of that versatile cookware, you can bake them in the oven, over a campfire, in a smoker, you name it, anything hot. Long story short, they're delicious, fairly easy to put together, and always a huge hit whether it's shared around a dinner table, a campfire, or even a tailgate. As always, make sure and check the description below for a detailed list of the ingredients and supplies necessary. Once you've got everything rounded up, let's get to cooking. We're going to start out with preparing the filling of our cobbler. You can use just about any fruit you'd like, and I happen to have 3 to 4 cups worth of frozen peaches. Toss your fruit frozen or fresh into a good sized mixing bowl. Then add 1 cup of brown sugar, 1 teaspoon of lemon zest, a pinch of salt, or roughly 1/4 teaspoon, the juice from half a lemon, and finally 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Then mix everything really well and then pour your filling into your cast iron pan. If you don't have a cast iron sitting around, but you're still watching a video called Cast Iron Cobbler, you're welcome to use any type of baking pan you have on hand, especially if you're just tossing it into your oven. But make sure that it isn't any larger than 10 inches or so. My cast iron is a 10-inch pan, and it was just to the limit of how thin the ingredients could spread. Now that your filling is setting in the pan, let it sit out and macerate for a bit while we move on to making the dough. If you happen to have a stand mixer, now is finally the time to use that wedding present that's been collecting dust in your back pantry. If you don't have one, you can just as easily use a food processor, or worst case scenario, a mixing bowl and some elbow grease. Now before we get started, I have to warn the audience that I am in no way, shape, or form a competent baker. You're welcome to light me up in the comments about how I messed up this, missed that, and did all these things wrong when it comes to making the dough. But my point is that even with my limited skills, I made a delicious cobbler. And that's why this recipe is so awesome. Anyone, or almost anyone, can do it. In a large mixing bowl, add 1½ cups of all-purpose flour. Add 3 tablespoons of granulated sugar, 1½ teaspoons of baking powder, and ½ teaspoon of kosher salt. Then give everything a quick dry mix. Now take a stick of extremely cold butter. Can't stress this enough, it needs to be cold. Cut the butter into small knobs and then toss the pieces into the bowl and mix until the butter is turned into tiny bits. If you're using the food processor, just pulse chop until it looks like little tiny butter peas are in there. If you're using your hands, grab a cold butter knife or forks and press and fold the butter until they're tiny pea-sized bits mixed into the flour. This is the only kind of hard part of the recipe, and I'm no baker, so if I can do it, you can do it. Once the butter's been cut into your flour, take your ½ cup of sour cream and add it in dollops until the dough magically comes together and looks like, well, dough. Once you have dough, simply tear off little pieces and place them all over the top of your fruit filling. This is almost impossible to mess up, so don't freak out about perfect ball shapes or anything else. These dough balls will bake and expand across your filling, creating the top of your cobbler. Final ingredient before baking, take raw sugarcane, or turbinado sugar, and drizzle a healthy pinch over everything to help with the browning and general sugary goodness. And with that being done, it's ready to bake. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, you can use a wide variety of methods to cook this cobbler. Today, I'm using my Big Green Egg smoker, and for those following along with a similar setup, it's set to indirect heat at a temperature of about 350 degrees. That being said, as long as whatever you're using can sit at 350 degrees for a long period of time, you'll be fine. Just keep an eye on it. Cook times will vary depending on what you're using and other variables, but you're roughly looking at somewhere between 30 minutes to an hour. Your cobbler is done once the top dough is spread out, hardened, and then browned to your liking. Also, the fruit topping should be bubbling up here and there. Once you see these signs, it's time to pull it out and serve dessert. And just like that, you're done. Cobbler is an awesome addition to dinner or parties that takes very little extra work but makes a very big impression. If you're already cooking dinner in your oven or smoker, why not toss a cast iron cobbler in alongside and have dessert covered as well? Giving my peach cobbler a taste, I'm reminded why I love these so much. Sure, there's plenty of sugar in the making, but the finished product isn't oversweet thanks to the biscuit-like topping. It's a refreshing dessert that lets the fruit take center stage instead of some tooth-numbing icing. Cobbler is excellent year-round, but if you're cooking this during summer, don't forget to toss a scoop of vanilla ice cream alongside it to make the perfect end to a summer get-together. Alright, that'll do it for this recipe, and thank you all so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below if you're a seasoned cobbler pro and what's your favorite filling when it comes to making them. If you're new to the channel, I hope I've been helpful in sharing my tips, and please make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more great content to come. Alright y'all, take care.